You become what you surround yourself with. You slowly inherit the habits, mindset, and behavior of the people around you. Their way of thinking becomes your way of thinking. Their standards become your standards. Their fears, excuses, discipline, ambition, even the way they speak about life, begins to shape you. That is why the people you spend time with matter far more than most people realize. Because human beings adapt. Whether the influence is good or bad, eventually some part of it reflects in your own life. Consider a child raised in a neighborhood where disorder is the norm, where the men he sees daily have made a particular set of choices about how to live, choices that produce a particular kind of life. If no one shows him a different path, if no voice in his daily experience points toward something different from what surrounds him, the probability is high that he will eventually adopt the standards of his environment. Not because of any deficiency in his character, because environment shapes people. It has always shaped people. This is not pessimism. It is the honest account of a mechanism that operates in every life, in every direction. And yet, there are men who came from those same circumstances and built something entirely different, who became disciplined where their environment was chaotic, purposeful where it was aimless, who produced lives that bore no resemblance to the one their early surroundings seemed to be preparing them for. How association actually works. A man does not sit down each evening and consciously adopt the attitudes of the people he spent the day with. The absorption happens in the margins, in the way a colleague frames a problem, whether as something to be solved or something to be endured. In the ambient expectations of the room, what is considered normal effort, normal achievement, normal ambition, normal complaint. Over time, these ambient standards become a man's own standards, not because he agreed to adopt them, simply because the mind, exposed to anything consistently enough, begins to treat it as given. Here is a specific example. A man joins a company where the prevailing attitude toward work is one of minimum effort. Do enough to avoid consequences, no more. In his first weeks, this attitude is visible to him as something external. He notices it. He may even feel some resistance to it. But if he remains in that environment for 3 years, without deliberately maintaining contact with a different standard, something shifts. The minimum effort attitude stops being something he observes and starts being something he inhabits. Not because his values changed, because the standard became invisible through familiarity, and invisible standards are not resisted. They are absorbed. The upward and the downward pull. Association operates in both directions with equal reliability. A man who spends his time with people who take their work seriously, who hold themselves to a genuine standard, who speak about the future in terms of what they are building rather than what has been done to them, that man will find his own standards rising. Not through any conscious decision to improve, simply through the sustained exposure to a different set of expectations. The new standard becomes familiar. The familiar becomes normal. The normal becomes his own. What is the silent cost of this? A man who has spent 10 years in the company of people whose ambition peaked early, whose conversation about work is primarily complaint, whose standard of effort is one of comfortable adequacy. That man has absorbed a ceiling, not as an explicit rule, as an ambient assumption about what a person in his circumstances is entitled to expect of himself. And the ceiling is invisible, which is what makes it so effective. The man does not feel its presence as a limitation. He feels it as common sense, as realism, as the sober assessment of a man who has seen how things actually work. He will describe his reduced ambition in the language of wisdom. He has learned what is possible, what is practical, what the world actually rewards. But beneath the reasonable language is the echo of 100 conversations with people who had already stopped reaching, who treated their own stopping as the logical conclusion of experience. Most men do not abandon their ambitions in a single dramatic moment of defeat. They surrender them in small increments, in the daily company of people who have already surrendered theirs, until the ambition is gone and only the explanation remains. The specific forms this takes. The cost of wrong association takes several specific forms in a man's working life. The first is the normalization of complaint. A man who spends his daily hours among people for whom complaint is the primary mode of engaging with the world will find, gradually, that his own thinking moves in that direction. The complaint is always available. It is often accurate. The world does provide genuine cause for grievance. But the man who dwells in complaint is not building anything with the energy that the complaint consumes. He is spending it on a detailed account of what is wrong, and the account, however accurate, produces nothing. The second is the suppression of ambition. In groups where ambition is regarded with suspicion, where the man who wants more than his circumstances currently provide is treated as naive or pretentious or disloyal to the group, ambition tends to go quiet. A man may still carry it privately, but the daily social cost of expressing it becomes high enough that he stops. And an ambition that is not expressed is an ambition that is not acted upon, and an ambition that is not acted upon eventually stops feeling real. The third is the adoption of other people's fears. Fear is among the most transferable qualities in any human group. A man who surrounds himself with people who are afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of the attempt that might not succeed, will find those fears becoming more familiar in his own mind. They will not feel borrowed. They will feel like his own honest assessment of risk, and they will produce the same result in his life that they produced in the lives of the people he absorbed them from, inaction dressed in the language of prudence. The man who stayed too long. I want to describe a type of man who is, in my observation, remarkably common. He is not a failure in any obvious sense. He is decent, hard-working, reliable in his obligations. He had, in his younger years, a genuine sense of what he wanted to build. He had ambition that was specific and felt real. But at some point, and he could not tell you exactly when, the ambition faded. The specific goal became a general hope. The general hope became a vague regret, and he continued, competently and without drama, in the direction his environment had arranged for him. Not because he chose it, because he never chose anything else, and the environment, given enough time, will always choose for the man who does not choose for himself. Seek the company of the man further along the road. The most direct practical step is this: find, in whatever field matters most to you, a man or several men who are further along the road than you are, not famous necessarily, not exceptional in any public sense. Simply someone whose daily conduct demonstrates the standard you are trying to reach. Someone whose way of approaching his work, his decisions, his daily habits represents something you are genuinely trying to build toward. Spend time with that person in whatever way is genuinely available. If a direct relationship is not possible, seek the closest equivalent, the man's recorded words, his written account of how he works. The testimony of people who knew him well. This is not a pale substitute for direct association. Throughout history, men have been shaped profoundly by the company of people they never met, through the medium of the written word. Read the biographies of men who built what you want to build, not for inspiration in the thin sense, for the specific practical account of how they actually conducted their working lives, what they did in the mornings, how they made decisions under pressure, what they sacrificed and what they refused to sacrifice. These are not ancient and irrelevant records. They are the closest thing available to spending time with men whose conduct represents the standard you are trying to internalize. A man is not limited to the associations that geography and circumstance have placed nearest to him. Through the printed page, he has access to the company of the finest minds of every generation. Most men never take advantage of this. The ones who do are rarely the same men afterward. The honest examination for yourself. Write down the names of the 5 or 6 people with whom you spend the most regular time, not the people you admire most or the people you would choose if you were choosing freely. The people who are actually present in your daily life, at work, in the evenings, in the routine hours that constitute the actual texture of your week. Then, for each name, write down an honest answer to this question. After an extended period of time in this person's company, do I leave with more energy and more clarity about what matters, or with less? If the examination reveals that a significant portion of a man's regular associations are pulling downward, that the ambient standard of his daily company is consistently below the standard he is trying to maintain, the response is not to sever those relationships, it is to supplement them deliberately. Add associations that pull upward. Make the time. Read the men whose thinking you want to resemble. Find the work environment, if one is available, where the prevailing standard is closer to the one you have set for yourself. And protect, with genuine seriousness, the time you spend in company that confirms, rather than undermines, the direction you have chosen. The obligation to be worth associating with. You are, in every significant relationship of your life, an environmental influence on someone else. Your standards, the ones you actually hold in daily conduct, not the ones you profess in conversation, are being absorbed by the people who spend regular time with you. Your children, if you have them, your colleagues, your closest friends. They are taking on, through sustained proximity, some portion of what you are. This is a serious responsibility. Most men carry it without examining it at all. The question is not only who you are choosing to be near, it is who you are for the people who have chosen, or who have not chosen but simply found themselves, to be near you. The particular weight of the father. A father can hold the highest intentions for his children, can want, with genuine sincerity, the best possible life for them, and still transmit, through his daily conduct, a set of standards that produce something far less than what he intended. The child does not absorb the father's intentions. He absorbs the father's habits, the father's relationship to work, to difficulty, to failure, to the gap between what he says matters and how he actually spends his hours. These are the curriculum the child receives, whether the father knows he is teaching or not. A father who complains about his work every evening is teaching his child something about work. A father who treats difficulty as an obstacle to be avoided is teaching his child something about difficulty. A father who holds himself to a genuine standard in the private hours, who works seriously when no one is watching, who keeps the commitments he has made to himself as faithfully as the ones he has made to others, is teaching something very different. The teaching is always happening. The only question is what is being taught. Being worth the association. The practical implication is simply this. If a man wants to surround himself with people who raise his standard, he must be a person who raises theirs. The exchange must be genuine. A man who wants only to benefit from the association of better men without offering anything in return, without the quality of thinking, the quality of conduct, the quality of presence that makes him someone worth being near, will find that the association he wants is not available to him. Or if it is available, it does not last. Work at being worth associating with, not as a strategy for obtaining better company, as the honest acknowledgement that the principle you are depending on works in both directions, and that a man who understands it has an obligation to both sides of it. The man who chose differently. Andrew Carnegie arrived in this country as a young man with no money, no formal education, and no family connections to the world he intended to enter. What he had was a deliberate and very conscious approach to the question of whose company he kept. From his earliest years in work, he sought out the men who were best at what they did, not the men who were nearest, not the men who were friendliest, but the men whose standards and whose thinking represented the direction he had chosen. He studied them. He arranged to spend time near them. He absorbed, through sustained proximity, a set of standards that bore no resemblance to the ones his early circumstances would otherwise have provided. He did not do this coldly. Carnegie was by all accounts a man of genuine warmth and loyalty, but he was also a man who understood early and clearly that the quality of his associations was not a social nicety, it was a practical decision about the kind of man he was going to become. The second example is closer to ordinary life. A man of 35, a man I will not name, but whose circumstances I know well, found himself after 15 years in one field, with the growing sense that his daily associations had pulled him considerably below the standard he had originally set for himself. He had not failed. He had simply settled, in the way that is so easy and so quiet, into the ambient expectations of the men around him. He made one change. He began, each morning before the workday started, to spend an hour reading the accounts of men who had built what he wanted to build. Not for motivation, for the daily recalibration of his own standard, the reminder, before the day's ambient influences arrived, of what he had decided was possible and who he had decided to become. Within 2 years, his work had changed, not because the reading produced magical results, because the daily association with a higher standard, maintained consistently enough, had revised the ambient expectations he held for himself. The ceiling had moved, and when a ceiling moves, the man beneath it moves with it. So what are you, for the people who have chosen to be near you? What standard do you set? What ceiling do you represent? What does the daily company of your presence teach the people who absorb it? Because the principle has two sides, and a man who understands only the side that concerns what he receives has not yet understood it. Guard the company you keep, and be worth keeping company with.